Good morning, Santa Clarita. Welcome in. Newhall, Castaic, Saugus, good morning. How are you? Agua Dulce, Canyon Country, Val Verde, are you there? Valencia, Stevenson Ranch, Acton, welcome in. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi Charter Schools, Eye on the Valley. I am Matt Watson. It is good to have you, and I am fired up this morning. My co-host is back. She is here, Amber Golden Raskin. Welcome back to the booth. Good morning.
Thank you. So glad to be here, and thanks for inviting me again.
Oh, of course. It's good to have you back. Amber, I know since you were last on, your son's graduated from college, so both of your kids are off to college. Well,
graduated from high school.
Oh, graduated from high school. I apologize.
I have a freshman and a senior in college right now.
Right, and I say off to college. There's not a lot of kids that are off to college anymore.
They're home
Are your
with me.
kids they're at home?
They're both online, yes.
Okay, yeah.
My oldest is in New York doing online, which is not so fun with the time change.
Oh.
And then my son is Loyola Marymount, but still at home. They both thought they were moving in for a while, and then that changed, sadly.
Okay, yeah, I'm the same way. My youngest graduated from high school last year as well, and stuck at home online, thinking he was going off to San Francisco, and so here we thought we were going to be empty nesters, and our kids are still back at home with us. How times are so interesting. Well, welcome to our show. As you know, as my regular listeners know, our show used to be called Our Way on the Highway, but we've shifted, we've rebranded over the last, now 7-8 months. Mm-hmm. Gosh, it's been a while. We were always on, were we on Thursday mornings? It used to be Thursday mornings.
Yeah, it was Thursday mornings.
And then we shifted to Friday mornings, and with COVID and the pandemic, so many people had such great need. We were on every day in the spring, and it was great to be able to reach out and support parents as they were struggling through the whole distance learning thing.
Really helpful, yeah.
Yeah,
and we launched a website too, a companion website to that. Homeschooling Answers. It was just giving free resources to families so that they could navigate through homeschooling suddenly.
And those resources are still up for families that want to supplement or find. There's some fun activities on there. There's some great parent tips. Mm-hmm. You find yourself stuck at home with the family all day. And, there's tips on love and logic, how to manage, how to deal with the stress, how to deal with conflict, how to avoid arguments. That one's really important. So and that's all up on homeschoolinganswers.com.
Some fun videos for kids to watch too.
Yeah. So, we shifted. We started doing 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and we found out that format actually worked. It worked well. People seemed to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So now that we've gone back to just the regular Friday show, we're doing the 2 hours. So we'll be here 8 to 10 a.m. every Friday. So it's good to be back in this regular slot, and we are calling this show Eye on the Valley. We spend the first hour kind of taking a look around, seeing what's going on in the community, keeping our eye on the valley, and of course, the second hour we focus on the school that you founded just over 12 years ago, SCVi, and so we talk about the international, Santa Clarita Valley International, the eye. So you see, Mr. Sturgeon, that was a pun. See, we're keeping our eye.
And we also talk about the other schools in the network, right?
Absolutely.
We have several independent charter schools that are connected through a network, which is iLead California. And so we talk a little bit about our Antelope Valley schools and our Agua Dulce school.
Absolutely. Agua Dulce. It's funny. I always thought of Agua Dulce being so far away. They're just here on the east side of the valley. I live
closer.
in the heart of Saugus.
Yeah.
And they're closer to me than SCVi is on the west side of the valley. Well, I am excited about today's show. We've got a back-to-school edition of the show today. Our Valley schools are all back in session, and so we'll be checking in with the leaders of some of those schools. Hour number one, like I said, we've got Steve Sturgeon here. He's governing board member from the William S. Hart School District. Good morning, Steve. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Amber.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for being here.
Good to have you. We want to check in with you to see how things are going in our area's junior high schools and high schools. And then in hour number two, we're going to be joined, Amber, by your partner of over a decade now, Dawn Evenson. She is founder and CEO of iLead California. Your partner in founding SCVi, like I said, just over 12 years ago. SCVi, which began as kind of a dream of a small school that you had, and we'll get into that in a little bit later on in the show, but now serving over 1,000 children here, and as I said, on the west side of the valley, initially intended as a one-off, right? But then, people in Dawn's hometown of Lancaster kept kind of bugging her. Hey, that's great that you're driving over the hill to run this amazing school, but what about us? Show your hometown a little bit of love. And so we added Eileen Lancaster, and we grew from that one school now into 6 schools here in California, in different districts.
Yeah, all the growth has been organic. We don't go seeking, we're going to open and we're trying to plant another location. It's when people either, in that case, it was the mayor actually that asked us to come to Lancaster.
Right.
And in other places, sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's an authorizer. But it's really when people want us to come. We're not interested in shoving it down anybody's throat.
Right.
We just want to serve. And in fact, that's why we have so many different brands and programs that we've done, because it's really to organically serve a need. That's what we look for.
Yeah, kids and communities need something different, and it's great to see how you guys often step up oftentimes at such great, I guess maybe tax is the word, to you guys and the team. Again, we'll talk about that maybe in hour number 2 about how that happens when communities reach out, and sometimes they reach out and they say, yeah, we want you, and we want you right now, hurry.
Right. That's happened.
Also in hour number 2, we're going to have another short break of Big T's 5 minutes of fame. Amber, have you been tuning in for Big T? Everybody loves Big T. He's always a lot of fun, so we'll be goofing off with him at the end of the show. But I am being so rude to our first guest. He's sitting right here with us, and I've been ignoring you, Mr. Sturgeon. He was an instrumental supporter of the creation of SCVi back in 2008 and has been ever since. Steve Sturgeon is a local guy, born in Glendale, California. He graduated from Granada Hills High School before attending UCLA. That's right. He is a gutty little Bruin. He received his degree in political science and computer science after becoming one of the youngest vice presidents in the history of Coldwell Banker. Did you know that, Amber? Steve struck out on his own, opening several small businesses, including AVM Technologies. A consummate family man and community leader, Steve has always been an example of giving back. His philanthropic efforts in our community with organizations such as the Child and Family Center Board and Foundation, the Michael Hoffman Foundation, Safe Rides, that one was a new one for me. I didn't realize you were involved with Safe Rides. The Santa Clarita Senior Center, Boys and Girls Club, COC Foundation, and President's Circle, Betty Ferguson Foundation, you are a busy guy, SCV Theater Group, and the SCV Sheriff's Foundation. It is no wonder that he was named Santa Clarita Valley's Man of the Year in 2013. And folks still say that 2013 was this valley's best year ever for Man and Woman of the Year. And he's also served as governing board member in the Sulphur Springs District and has now been a board member with the William S. Hart School District for over 20 years, beginning in 1999, serving as board president 4 times, most recently in 2018. Again, Mr. Sturgeon, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in.
No, thank you. And I suspect 2 things, okay?
2 things.
One is that I suspect that the person that is probably the Woman of the Year who keeps saying that was the best year for Man and Woman of the Year.
I was going to say the same thing.
And we won't name that person.
Well, she did say that it was quite an honor to be recognized with you. So yeah, she enjoyed that.
And you're right. I was part of the beginning of SCVi 12 years ago, and it has been an exciting move forward for them ever since. So
yeah, absolutely. So like I said,
let me say one thing about that too. You have been a wonderful supporter, and you've also held our feet to the fire when needed, and that's only made us better. So I appreciate you being a great steward of the public interest in that way, both in seeing the need and supporting the need, but guiding us when we need to do things better. So thank you for that.
you're welcome.
So, like I said, we're talking about back to school, and we want to get an update on how things are going at the Hart District so far with distance learning and everything that's going on with your schools. But first, I want to ask you about your business. I was on your website last night, and it looks like AVM Technologies provides a variety of services. Am I correct? What do you guys do?
That's correct. Right now, we've whittled back over the last few years to basically we have a software product for real estate and commercial industries.
Okay.
And it's all the back office work. It's all the accounting, construction, management, and receivable issues related to to tenant-related buildings, whether they be retail, office, or apartment complexes.
Okay.
And then we also offer a drop-off shredding service. We used to do on-site shredding service. We've scaled that back, and we do drop-off shredding services at our offices where people can bring in material for secured destruction.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic, and I'm sure really popular in the real estate, the back office stuff. A lot of folks work kind of on their own, maybe as a team of 2 or 3, and so that back office support is something that I'm sure is really needed. That is fantastic. All righty, so let's get into what's going on in the district. We know this wild ride all began on March 13th as our school campuses shut down, and all of our kids were kind of abruptly sent home for distance learning. And it is kind of it is what it is proposition, right? We were all just kind of doing the best we could. And so all things considered, now just looking back at the spring, the emergency, shut our campuses down, let's get up online and do the best that we can. How do you feel the district responded during that emergency time back in the spring?
Well, as you can imagine, it was an overnight affair, effectively. Right. It was basically over a weekend. Mm-hmm. And our teachers really, put their feet to the fire and did what was fundamentally an incredible job in terms of turning in-classroom instruction into an online program. We'd obviously had some experience with it with our Heart to Home and Learning Post operations, so it wasn't new to the district, but it certainly wasn't as expansive. And we did have staff, teachers, instructional assistants, et cetera, that simply weren't accustomed to it.
Sure.
So it was a bit of a bumpy ride for the first week or two, but overall, they faced the challenges, and we got through the balance of the year. So.
Yeah, it was certainly hard. It was hard on everybody, and with all the uncertainty, nobody knew what was going on. People were scared. Parents were scared, were frustrated. Kids didn't know what was going on. But you're right, teachers across the valley really did step up. I've got one of your teachers that's a next-door neighbor of mine, and I would see her out on the front yard. She's a PE teacher at one of the junior high schools, and I would see her out on the front yard doing yoga classes and calisthenics and things like that. She's doing PE class online. It was good to see.
Part of the difficulty was the termination of activities, programs, extracurricular functions, athletics, and there was no knowledge of when or if it was going to go back to normal any period of time short, or if they were simply losing out on the balance.
The unknown and the uncertainty is so hard. And those programs were what kept me alive in high school. That's what kept me going, so that's very hard for the kids and the staff.
I have really felt saddened for our students in terms of what they're not getting and haven't been able to get, and what they've been looking forward to, or those students, particularly in their junior and senior years, that have worked so hard to attain levels of expertise or talent and skill sets that were basically ended overnight. Yeah,
that was very personal for Matt and I. We both had 2020 seniors, and now we have in the college freshman experience that they're missing out on is almost might be worse, because they were so excited about being independent. So it's very personal for a lot of people.
To go from a daily social relationships with over 2,000 to 3,000 other students to sitting in front of a computer at home by yourself.
Very different.
Was extraordinarily difficult.
Yeah.
Sure, and we talk about how damaging interaction on social media can be oftentimes for kids of that age, and now when that's the only social outlet they have, it can just be devastating. I think we're going to be dealing with the effects of this for a long time to come.
And developmentally at that age, they don't have the life experience to know this too shall pass, right? A year feels like so much longer at that age than it does for us too. So
a day feels really long to me right now.
It does to me too. I think COVID's had that effect for sure. I feel like I'm back at that age again.
And the number of students that I get, I used to get maybe 100 emails over the course of a week. I get at least somewhere between 100 and 200 per day now.
Oh, wow.
And it's students, parents, could be teachers, administrators, and the like, that basically are, seeking, pleading, to help them, get through the process, or to inspire them as to when we may be getting back to some level of normalcy.
Yeah.
Kids talk about the fact that, you never wanted us to spend more than an hour on our computer, at
now-
home.
now it's all
And now
day.
we're spending,
Yeah.
6 to 10 hours
Yeah.
a day.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and it is rough. So let's talk about this semester, because it is different. We had time to plan and time to look forward, and we still don't know for how long, but we had some sense this time coming into it, unlike last time where we thought, this could be a couple weeks, maybe a month, and then it turned into the rest of the school year. Well, now we know, okay, this isn't going to be a short couple of weeks. This we've got to prepare for the long term. So what do things look like in the district now as we get the new school year started?
It was like night and day.
Okay.
Our district administration and teachers got together during the course of teacher leaders got together during the course of the summer and started putting together a plan, to handle the program schedules, et cetera, to provide new software services, training, professional development to our teachers and staff, so that we could better deliver the educational experience. There are still difficulties associated with it, as there would be. You're still facing the amount of time in front of a computer. You're still I have a daughter who's a PE teacher.
Right.
She has 55 kids in her PE classes.
Wow.
That she's doing PE, exercises and programs and the like through Zoom or through Google Meetings or whichever it may be. So these are not simple challenges for any of our teachers yet. And of course, there's things like science labs and other delivery systems that simply aren't available. But they've done an incredible job this year of maximizing the opportunity for each of the students, and I think our success rates are much better, and our teaching and classified staff are literally at probably 150% productivity effort that they're putting into it. The days are probably much longer for them right now, in terms of starting in the morning and getting through and setting up their plans for the following day.
Yeah, so now I want to look moving forward as well. We do need to take a quick break for commercial, but when we come back, I want to talk to you about, I want to ask you to break out your crystal ball and ask that question that I'm sure all those kids and parents have been asking you in your emails. We're talking with Steve Sturgeon, the senior board member with the William S. Hart School Board. We're going to continue with him when we come back. You're listening to SCVi Charter Schools Eye on the Valley. I'm Matt Watson with Amber Golden Raskin on your hometown station, KHTS.
The coronavirus has put us in a position of creating a new normal. Family Law at Home understands. Their goal is to meet you in the safest place possible, and these days that might be in your own home in a virtual meeting. Family Law at Home will provide you with immediate advice on your family law matters, such as divorce cases, child custody disputes, and domestic violence. It's as easy as going to FamilyLawAtHome.com. You'll choose your own consultation date and be in immediate contact with one of their esteemed attorneys. Family Law at Home handles the legal aspect while you and your family navigate the new chapter in your lives. Go to FamilyLawAtHome.com.
These days, it's hard to figure out how to fill all the self-isolation time, let alone figure out what to have for lunch or dinner. Salt Creek Grill owner Greg Amsler is helping us out in a big way. Salt Creek is now offering takeout and curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Their entire menu is available for pickup or delivery, including to-go beer and wine. Hey. In addition, Greg's offering wine at 25% off, along with daily specials. If you'd like to buy a gift card for a future visit, now's the time. Buy a $50 gift card and get $10 extra on the card completely free. Buy a $100 gift card, you get an extra $25. Salt Creek Grill, located next to Regal Cinema at the Valencia Mall. For more info, go to saltcreekgrill.com.
Honey, there are lots of new mortgage companies advertising on TV and radio. Are they for real?
Who knows? But we certainly don't want to be their guinea pigs while they learn the business. Yeah, this isn't our first refi rodeo, and we'll only consider a company who absolutely does what they say they will. That's why we're calling Owning, the experienced company we can trust.
Exactly. Owning has tons of great online reviews, and the copycats have almost none. Go online and check for yourself. And today, Owning is offering 30-year fixed refis at 2.625% rate and APR with absolutely no closing costs, no points, title, escrow, appraisal, or anything else. And we'll close your loan in 2 to 3 weeks. Just call 855-5-OWNING.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, NMLS 1797976. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
That's 855-5-OWNING or log on to owning.com.
Marla Ferris at Augusta Financial is the consummate mortgage professional, committed to helping you turn your dream of homeownership into reality. With more than 22 years in the finance mortgage industry, Marla brings extensive experience and top knowledge to help make your loan experience hassle-free. Given her honesty, integrity, and attention to detail, she is the loan officer you can trust. Marla knows what it takes to get you the best loan, the best rate, and the best service in the industry. You'll find Marla Ferris at Marla, FERRIS.com.
Your hometown station.
KHTS is the only station I listen to.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 on the FM dial and 1220 AM. This is SCVi Charter Schools Eye on the Valley. I am Matt Watson with Amber Golden Raskin. This morning we're talking to Mr. Steve Sturgeon. He is governing board member, the most senior governing board member of the William S. Hart School District. And it's good to hear that we were talking about distance learning and how things are going in the district so far. It's been a couple of weeks. It's good to hear that things are going well. But we were talking during the commercial break. Folks are kind of over this, right? And nobody wants this year's seniors to go through what Amber's son and my son went through last year, getting their high school diplomas at a drive-through ceremony. And you talked about all the seminal events and things like that and experiences in junior high and high school that kids missed out on last year and are starting to miss out on this year. So I do see that you forgot your crystal ball, but what do you think it's going to take to get kids back on campus and back in the classrooms where they belong?
Well, actually, in July, district administration put forth a plan for getting back into the classroom.
Okay.
We had to do that in line with the Department of Health's guidelines,
sure,
which basically required fundamentally either larger spaces so that we could fit 30 kids in a class, or half the number of kids in a class. So to do that, the district published a blended program, and it was scheduled to begin on September 14th.
Okay.
The first 5 weeks of school was set aside so that as teachers and staff came back to work from summer vacation, that they would be able to get the training and professional development to assist them with the online services portion of the educational process, and all of the procedures that they were going to have to be followed on campus, because this affects everybody from the campus supervisor at the gate to the registrar inside the office to counselors and the like, not just teachers or students. So the first 5 weeks would end on September 13th, effectively, and September 14th, the kids, we planned that they would go back to school, which was the end of the first report card break. At that time, the blended program allows for a rotating 2 or 3 day in-classroom program. Okay. So all the kids will be in class. Half of them will be online, and half of them will be in the classroom, but they'll all be in attendance. So if there's 30 kids in a class, they'll all be in attendance at the same time.
Okay.
This isn't like they're going to 2 different classes and 2 different teachers. And so a portion of the class schedule would be 2 days in class this week, 3 days the following week, and that would rotate back and forth.
Okay, so for example, if the 4 of us here in the studio were in the same class, you and Amber may be physically present at your desks in the classroom. Patty and I would be at home watching watching virtually and participating in the lesson that way, and that way that whole class of 28, 30 kids would still be doing the same thing and on the same trajectory.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so that was as of September 14th. Literally, I believe within 48 hours after we announced the plan, okay, the governor announced new guidelines and basically set aside where we had to meet a 14-day, not on a watch list, not on the COVID watch list, but before we could go back into the classroom. We're part of LA County.
Right.
So as Santa Cruz Valley is, and the district is, and all the schools out here in Santa Cruz are. So it doesn't make any difference what our results are and what experiences we're having out here with the virus. We have to comply with whatever LA County is doing as a whole. So we have we've been on the watch list ever since. We have started to have a drop and a decline in the number of cases. There are 8 factors associated to when and if we can get back into the classroom and come back on campus. And I believe all but one of them we've passed, but there's one which is significant, which is the number of cases per 100,000 people in the county.
In the county, because we all know that Santa Clarita Valley is so similar to places like Manhattan Beach, Silver Lake, and he said sarcastically.
Yes. We attempted, or staff attempted to get waivers. Basically, as of even 2 days ago, I believe it was, the Department of Health, local LA County Department of Health said we're not going to issue any waivers to any districts in the county. You're going to have to comply with all factors. So now, I believe as early or as late as just a day and a half ago, this is Friday, correct? So it had been Wednesday, I believe, a notice went out to all parents going that we will have if we don't make it, which is really by September 1st, we have to get off the list, and then we have to be off the list for 14 days, which would take us to September 14th. So that we will move the move-in date to October. Okay, so and the focus there is really it's merely a more of a procedural process in terms of getting teachers and staff and the like back into schools, and it may impact schedules overall. So there is a plan, with each process if nothing else changes within the CDC guidelines. One of the challenges, just to mention, that was the case, and I'm sure everyone knows it in their individual businesses and the like, but one of the serious challenges, the rules were changing literally, every 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
You talked about drive-through graduations. We were absolutely not allowed to have drive-through graduations by the county health department and by the state.
Right.
Okay? I'm going to say that was on a Wednesday. Okay. It was on a Wednesday report. But district staff, and I commend them for it, they had already had plans in place to actually put them on. Should they ever come, if they should be allowed. And sure enough, on Friday of that same week, 48 hours later, graduations were allowed.
That's exactly what happened with SCVi.
And so we turned them on. But without that that planning ahead, it would have never happened.
That's what adds so much time, is the what if planning. What if this? You have to plan for 3 different scenarios.
Oh, easily
it's changing so much, as you said.
Well, we talk about the staff that implements it, right? On every campus, there's a couple of key members of staff. Everybody works so hard to put those events together, but there's a couple of folks we know that kind of run that, and every year that's such a taxing event. It's just so exhausting for them, and to then do it for 2 or 3 different events, not knowing which one's gonna crop up. But yeah, absolutely, hats off to those folks that made that happen with such a quick turnaround. Now, let's talk about that possibility. Let's say everything shifts correctly, and we are able to get off that watch list and open, whether it's September 14th or maybe a little bit later in the school year. Are you and the rest of the district confident that you'll be able to have, just the materials, the processes, the procedures in place to keep folks healthy and safe on campus?
Oh, absolutely. That's what's been going on for at least not only just the last 5 weeks as they set up the schools, but certainly even in the planning stages over the course of the summer in terms of materials and products and the like to handle the safety measures associated with the virus.
Okay, and now we can't. Excuse me. We can't mention school safety without talking about keeping kids physically safe as well. Because if it wasn't already, school safety became the unquestionable number one priority back on November 14th with the tragedy at Saugus High School. I know that no school can offer a guarantee. Life can offer no guarantees. But that having been said, how do you feel the district is doing in the area of physical school safety?
Well, we just, at our last board meeting, we actually had a presentation specifically on that. After the event on November 14th, we brought in an outside consulting firm specializing in school safety and had them evaluate what kinds of things that we do at all of our campuses and throughout the district. And they came up with a few recommendations, but fundamentally their report out was that, our safety measures are exceptional. And so the guidelines were more along the lines of doing what we can. I know Amber can appreciate this, and you as an instructional leader and can appreciate this, is to do our best to identify, students that may have difficulties or where there's, problems that are below the surface, to see if we can get their attention, gain their attention, and help them along the way, before something becomes climatic as it was.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. I've dealing with the different things that my kids have dealt with. I've always been an advocate for making sure that kids have the mental health care and the resources that they need just to check in and work with people. So thank you for that. And I do have to, even in the midst of the tragic loss of life and injury and the psychological effects, still Saugus High School and the district are to be commended, because when that tragedy started, kids and staff knew what to do. They'd been trained, and there's all different kinds of stories that you could go in and different anecdotes.
You have some stories, don't you? You lived it in a personal way.
Oh, absolutely. It's my son graduated from Saugus High School, and kids, they knew what to do. They knew, to run, to hide. They were prepared to fight if necessary, because they'd been trained by their school on how to do that. We spoke with the gentleman whose daughters implemented the Stop the Bleed packs that were used to help save Gracie Muhlenberger's life. Or not Gracie, I'm sorry, Addison.
Addie Kegley,
yeah. And so that was just a huge part, the training that even the kids had received. So we do appreciate that. Mr. Sturgeon, I did tell you we had, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
I was going to say, I believe I need to shout out for three people that have been seriously engaged in our district. Our superintendent, Mike Kuhlman, who is new to the position, and literally has
what a year he's had in his first year.
Has faced challenges that certainly he wouldn't, it's not a job that you would have signed yourself to or pick on. Kathy Hunter, who was our Director of Student Services, and she was the one that led for the last several years the introduction of programs associated with safety issues and whatever on campus. She's the one that has dealt and worked with students needing special services throughout our 23,000 student population. And Dr. Colin Nielsen, who also, between facilities and safety issues and the like, has been instrumental. And then the person that I'd like to note, because it's always behind the scenes, is John Carino, our director of IT.
Yeah.
You can imagine, we delivered several thousand Chromebooks, in those 3 days. I mean, teachers, staff, and the like delivered several thousand Chromebooks from the district to students so that they would have something that they could use in order to sign on. All the technology we're talking about relative to online or blended learning, that's all IT-based, and he is in the process, but he and his staff are in the process of making sure that that's going to be ready and available. So they have done well beyond what it was in their original job descriptions.
Absolutely. Mr. Sturgeon, I promised you 2 breaks. Do you think I could really abuse you a little bit this morning and ask you to stick around for one more break? We've got a couple other things that we need to talk about before you go. Can you stay for maybe another 15, 20 minutes?
Sure. Does it come with breakfast?
I'll get Patty right on that. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Please stick around. We'll be right back with Mr. Steve Sturgeon, governing board member at the William S. Hart School Board. This is SCVi Charter Schools Eye on the Valley with Amber Golden Raskin and Matt Watson on your hometown station, KHTS.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow. And like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat. I would flip-flop all night long. I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you can move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed. It's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry MyPillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever. You can buy one of my pillows and get one absolutely free.
Go to mypillow.com and use the promo code KHTS, or call 800-973-3927 and use the promo code KHTS. That's 800-973-3927 or mypillow.com and use the promo code KHTS.
You see so much when you look at your child. A creative spirit that surprises you every day. Curiosity that develops into exploring unique passions. A little leader growing every day to discover who they are, what they love, and how they can make their mark on the world. At SCVi, we see those same amazing things. Our tuition-free K-12 charter school gives your child boundless opportunities to think critically and imagine freely, with a customized learning program built around each individual student. As iLead's founding school, SCVi combines an immersive approach to traditional subject learning with extracurricular activities including STEAM, robotics, theater, music, and sports. SCVi has the only international baccalaureate program in Santa Clarita, with a 10-year proven track record of graduates excelling at top universities. And we're in your backyard, just off the 5 freeway in West Santa Clarita Valley in Castaic. For enrollment information or to learn more about our program, including homeschool options, visit iLeadSantaClarita.org. iLead Schools, free to think, inspired to lead.
Honey, there are lots of new mortgage companies advertising on TV and radio. Are they for real?
Who knows? But we certainly don't want to be their guinea pigs while they learn the business. Yeah, this isn't our first refi rodeo, and we'll only consider a company who absolutely does what they say they will. That's why we're calling Owning, the experienced company we can trust.
Exactly. Owning has tons of great online reviews, and the copycats have, almost none. Go online and check for yourself. And today, Owning is offering 30-year fixed refis at 2.625% rate and APR with absolutely no closing costs, no points, title, escrow, appraisal, or anything else. And we'll close your loan in 2 to 3 weeks. Just call 855-5-OWNING.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, NMLS 1797976. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
That's 855-5-OWNING or log on to owning.com.
KHTS strives to give the Santa Clarita Valley all the information they need. And when our computers aren't working the way they should, we call Resurgence, your true source for IT. Resurgence provides outstanding customer service while also providing the highest technical ability. They strive to do what's best to improve and protect your business. For more information on Resurgence, call 349-4114 or visit resurgenceit.com.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson with Amber Golden Raskin, and you are listening to SCVi Charter Schools Eye on the Valley. We're here this morning with governing board member of the William S. Hart School District, Mr. Steve Sturgeon. Mr. Sturgeon, we were talking earlier in the break about the possibility of kids getting back on campus, and your district has done such an amazing job planning and being prepared. And we talked about preparing for all the different contingencies. You have to plan for this to happen and for this not to happen, and you've got all these plans in set. We talked about that September 14th date where the district had planned to transition kids back on campus in the best case scenario, right? Should we get off that the governor's naughty list and be able to do that on September 14th. So now let's shift to that plan B. Should we not be able to make that September 4th date? I'm sorry, September 19th date. 14th. Thank you. What would there be another kind of benchmark or gate, or does the district have that plan B to transition kids back onto campus?
The next natural break would probably be October 19th.
Okay.
And that's the end of a quarter break in terms of grades and reporting in order to bring kids back in. And the significant piece of that, as I understand it and know, is that there may be a change in what's termed to be master scheduling, where kids may have to be adjusted or shifted as they come back on campus. So October 19th would be the next.
Right, because logistically there's a big difference between everybody's at home versus now folks are on half of the kids on campus, half of the kids virtually. There may be a shift.
Can I ask a question about that? Do you anticipate expanding the schedule like more than the normal hours of 7 or 8 to 3 or 4?
We've already, with the classes as they are, they have been 75-minute classes as opposed to the 55-minute classes. So in order to ensure that they get the required number of instructional minutes on a daily and annual basis. So.
And is the day longer?
It goes, well, it's about 5 hours and 40 minutes right now.
Okay.
They're just changing the schedule a bit. We're extending the break between classes from 5 to 10 minutes so that, students can get up and stretch and take a break.
Yeah.
And we're putting in a brunch period so they can actually, at their home or wherever they're at, they can get a snack in the process as well. So we're trying to adjust, the district is, to the best of their ability to what life is really like away. It's a long time in front of a computer without moving.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's so interesting. When kids are in class, we think of them, sitting in their desks and sitting still, but there's a lot more movement in class than oftentimes the kids are doing when they're at home behind their computer screen, just sitting in the same chair.
Even if it's a matter of just getting up and getting materials and coming back and having a conversation or the like, or doing a task at their desk, and having a teacher being able to monitor what's going on, and then going back to, to some instructional, verbal instruction from the teacher in and around the classroom. It's definitely a different experience.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that in our meetings that we're having, or as you said before, in even just talking to family. We've had a few family birthday parties on Zoom, and even that is challenging for a while. And then when you get the group setting on Zoom, that's a little different than one person in front of a camera. So it's all very new challenges we're experiencing.
I've stopped having birthdays, so I don't have Zoom.
I'm going to sign up for that.
So, Mr. Sturgeon, as I mentioned in your intro, you've been on the school board since 1999. You are the senior member on the Hart School Board, but you're up for re-election this November, and that's a date that's coming up really soon. So, can we talk about the last? Gosh, it's been 2 decades that you've served on the board. What are you most proud of?
Oh, golly. It's, I think I'm most proud of the fact that our district really, through the process, has measured up at the top of the list in the state of California and, quite frankly, in the nation. At one point, for our size, and understand we're not an LA Unified, but for our side with 20,000 students, we were number 1. We were number 2. We were number 3. We have ranked very high scholastically in the state over the course of time in a variety of categories. categories. We're the only exceptional district that was named in California.
Wow.
In this last year, I guess, before all of this started. But we've been named at national levels. Our high schools, Hart, Valencia, whatever, have been named to national listings in the top 10, or within the top 100, depending on what it is. The students overall are some of the most talented kids from top to bottom in terms of who they are and what they're achieving. And I think that's the most exciting. Second is probably the collaboration. We have done, or the district has done, an incredible job in working with our teachers' unions and our classified unions. There has been such a level of camaraderie, not always full agreement, and everybody's not always happy, but that's what comes out of a good negotiation, is that everybody wins something, and maybe nobody wins everything. But over time, and we've had difficulties budget-wise, we've had difficulties with student-wise, we've had difficulties hiring teachers. We used to go to job fairs to get teachers from other states because we couldn't get enough teachers here in the state of California.
Right.
So there's been serious challenges over the course of years, and every time, depending on what that challenge was, we faced it. We were at a point when I came on the board in '99 where we were overcrowded in our schools by 40%. That was 140% of what the natural maximum capacity was. And we had portables everywhere, and we were actually considering year-round education.
Wow.
Okay, year-round schools in order to reduce the number of kids that were on campus. We didn't do that. Instead, we've probably built close to $2 billion worth of upgrades and schools. There's been 6, 7 schools that have been built over the course of the 20 years as the city and the valley has grown and the district has grown, and they're magnificent. If you haven't seen Castaic High School, which is our newest, it looks like a community college. It's an absolutely beautiful campus, and our programs there now have on this campus has expanded to include things like medical dental certification, welding certifications, and the like, different career type programs that will move them through into COC and jobs that will pay in the 5 and 6 figures straight out of high school, straight out of community college. So I'm excited for that.
That is fantastic. Gosh, it's you really have, you and the rest of the district have accomplished a lot. So if given the opportunity to continue to serve, what are you looking forward to in the next 4 years and, next 2 decades?
Let's start with the first 4 years.
You stopped having birthdays, right? So,
one of the keys we have is in terms of, we have worked very hard prior to it being something notorious in the newspapers. We've worked very hard. Dr. Marianne Doyle is in charge of our diversity programs now. She's held different positions. She's been able to obtain hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of grants for special programs. And so the expansion of diversity all the way through our campuses, through our curriculum and the like, will continue to be embellished. We're listening to kids, we're listening to teachers, and in order to make sure that we have a quality campuses, across the board, and because it's only by living together that we're going to be continually successful.
she's a great choice for that too, by the way. Marianne Doyle, Dr. Marianne Doyle is amazing.
Yeah, she's been pretty spectacular.
Yeah, not surprised.
And keeping good people is tough.
Absolutely.
We have developed one thing I'm also proud of, I guess, is that as part of a board, we help to develop the culture of the school district. And so the people I've already spoken to at the top in terms of administration, the Dr. Marianne Doyles, our principals across the board, and in conjunction with the union representatives and the like, we've developed a culture within this valley in terms of success, collaboration, growth, proactive measures, new challenges where people have the opportunity to be creative. So it's been exciting.
And you and the other members of the board, Mr. Coleman, your superintendent, and all of your staff have always been so collaborative and worked so well with us at SCVi. We're so appreciative of the partnership that we've been able to have with you guys over the last 12 years, now going into our 13th year. Mr. Sturgeon, you are a great guy. You're doing so many things for not just the school district, but for our city, and we appreciate your leadership and the example you set. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It is time to check with our local and national news stories and the latest updates right now, but stick around. When we come back, we will have the yin to Amber's yang. She will be joining us, Dawn Evenson, SCVi and iLead's co-founder and CEO of iLead California. I am Matt Watson. She is Amber Golden Raskin, and you're listening to SCVi Charter Schools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS.
The anticipation of having a baby brings much excitement and hundreds of decisions. When choosing where to have your baby, choose the best. Providence St. Joseph Medical Center. The new Women's Pavilion combines expertly trained medical staff with luxurious labor and delivery suites and the area's most advanced neonatal intensive care unit. You and your new baby will get the best start possible. For more information and a tour, call 1-888-HEALING. The road to healing leads to Providence.
It's Christmas in August at Burger King.
Wait, are you being serious? There's no way.
Maybe there's a joke. There's a joke inside the bag.
We invited food reviewers to try the Whopper, but with a special surprise.
$5 for 2 Whopper sandwiches.
I'm gonna leave before you change your mind.
It's Christmas time. Celebrate with a 2 for $5 mix and match deal. Your way, way better.
Get your 2 for $5 Whopper deal at Burger King on Lyons Avenue at the 5 Freeway in Newhall.
KHTS AM 1220 and 98.1 FM Santa Clarita. It's 9 o'clock. Time for national news on KHTS.
A mass gathering on the National Mall. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Thousands of civil rights advocates converging in front of the Lincoln Memorial to commemorate 57 years since Martin Luther King Jr.'s historic March on Washington. Today's event focusing on police brutality after a summer of protests fueled by the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis and others. But cities around the country also facing riots during protests.
Chicago is at its best when we all work together.
Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown anticipating renewed protests this weekend after the police shooting of Jacob Blake in neighboring Wisconsin last weekend. Kenosha, Wisconsin had a second night of peaceful protests after the National Guard was called in following 3 nights of rioting that turned deadly. This morning, the first court appearance for a 17-year-old accused of killing 2 protesters was delayed for 30 days. Attorneys for Kyle Rittenhouse say he was acting in self-defense. In North Carolina, where parts of the Republican National Convention were held, county officials just confirming that 2 people who attended the convention and 2 support staff have tested positive for coronavirus and that all 4 were immediately isolated. A House committee that's launched an impeachment inquiry against Secretary of State Mike Pompeo over his convention speech is now also pursuing contempt proceedings, accusing him of failing to cooperate. The State Department denies that any of its resources were used for political reasons. President Trump heads to New Hampshire to hold a postponed campaign rally. First, he gets a briefing on Hurricane Laura, now blamed for 6 deaths in Louisiana, nearly 1 million power outages in Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas.
Some of the more than 500,000 who were ordered to evacuate no longer have a home to return to. Across the region, a full assessment of the damage will likely take days.
Fox's Jonathan Seri in Lafayette, Louisiana. America is listening to Fox News.
So who is your wireless provider? AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile? The average person is saving $400 a year by switching to Pure Talk USA. Pure Talk is on the same network, same towers, just 50% off in terms of price. Right now, get unlimited talk, text, and 2 gigs of data for just $20 a month. Switch to Pure Talk today. Now, from your cell phone, dial pound 250 and say Pure Radio. That's pound 250, Pure Radio, Pure Talk USA. Simply smarter wireless.
What do you get when you talk to a Dell Technologies advisor? You get someone who understands there's an art to listening.
Sure.
Who's able to hear more than what's being said and can provide tailored small business solutions that make you feel truly heard.
I understand. Let's get started.
For advice on everything from laptops to the cloud and solutions powered by Intel vPro platform, call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL.
Renewed concern about the risk of getting COVID-19 on an airplane.
A study now highlighted by the CDC suggests coronavirus can spread among passengers flying in airplanes. The research highlights an evacuation flight last March from Milan, Italy to Seoul, South Korea, in which 300 asymptomatic passengers were given N95 masks to wear and then made to quarantine for 2 weeks following the flight. 6 passengers had already tested positive, but a woman who tested negative while in isolation before the flight would test positive 2 weeks later. She sat far from the known infected persons, but did use the same restroom. Eben Brown, Fox News.
Well, the CDC emphasizing that while most viruses do not spread easily on flights because of how air circulates and is filtered on planes, social distancing is difficult on crowded flights and that passengers sometimes sit closely together for hours. There's a new flight path in the Middle East, a landmark route added after a diplomatic deal brokered by the U.S. Bear with me, folks.
Israeli airline El Al scheduling a flight from Israel to the United Arab Emirates for Monday morning. It's set to be Israel's first commercial passenger flight to the UAE. The journey coming after the two countries agreed to establish diplomatic relations in an accord brokered by the US. The UAE becoming the first Gulf Arab country to recognize Israel. Israeli and American officials are expected to be on board the flight. Simon Owen, Fox News.
A popular nutrition company, Herbalife, agrees to pay over $100 million as part of a deferred prosecution agreement to settle federal corruption charges. The U.S. accuses the company of providing illegal payments and benefits to Chinese officials to boost its business in China. I'm Lisa Brady, and this is Fox News.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Americans increased their spending in July for the third month in a row, an encouraging sign. Consumer spending rose 1.9% in July. The increase is better than expected, though weaker than the rebound in May and June. You may have made more in July. Personal incomes rose 0.4%. Coca-Cola is planning to restructure its workforce and work on its fastest-growing products. It's offering U.S. and Canadian employees a voluntary separation package. The company will be focusing on Coca-Cola brands, sparkling flavors, and other categories that include plant-based drinks. Coca-Cola's business was impacted by the pandemic because so much of its business comes from people drinking its products at restaurants, sporting events, and other venues. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Can Donald Trump really beat Joe Biden? Now, Blitz, a new bestseller by David Horowitz, reveals President Trump's real game plan. Blitz even predicts Trump will win in a landslide. Mark Levin calls Blitz the indispensable book of the 2020 election. It's already a New York Times bestseller. Get Blitz or check out the free offer and save $28. Just go online to blitz411.com or call 800-NEWSMAX. That's 800-NEWSMAX. Get Blitz today.
Thanks for listening to KHTS AM 1220, Canyon Country, California. K260 CO 98.1 FM, Santa Clarita, California.
No contract pest control. Did you hear that? Yes, Unipest has no contract, low impact, affordable, and environmentally and family friendly pest control options with orange oil or other family friendly products. Whether it's ants, spiders, gophers, termites, or bed bugs, Unipest Termite and Pest Control has an effective, eco friendly option for you. Call Unipest today for a free orange oil inspection at 661-BUG-7575 or visit unipest.com.
Honey, there are lots of new mortgage companies advertising on TV and radio. Are they for real?
Who knows? But we certainly don't want to be their guinea pigs while they learn the business. Yeah, this isn't our first refi rodeo, and we'll only consider a company who absolutely does what they say they will. That's why we're calling Owning, the experienced company we can trust.
Exactly. Owning has tons of great online reviews, and the copycats have, almost none. Go online and check for yourself. And today, Owning is offering 30-year fixed refis at 2.625% rate and APR with absolutely no closing costs, no points, title, escrow, appraisal, or anything else. And we'll close your loan in 2 to 3 weeks. Just call 855-5-OWNING.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, NMLS 1797976. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
That's 855-5-OWNING or log on to owning.com.
Welcome to Dunkin'. There are 2 Dunkin' locations in the SCV. Both locations have outdoor seating, carry-out service, and delivery with Postmates, Grubhub, and Uber Eats. Use the Dunkin' app to order and accumulate points. Try the new Dunkin' Summer Refresher for only $2. The Canyon Country location on Sierra Highway near Via Princesa has drive-through service and is open till 7 p.m. The Bouquet Canyon location just off Newhall Ranch Road has curbside service and is open till 6. The Santa Clarita Valley runs on Dunkin'.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
The following is sponsored programming and does not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station. 98.1 FM and 1220 on the AM side. This is Matt Watson, your host, and you are listening to SCVi Charter School's Eye on the Valley. Last hour I was joined by my co-host Amber Raskin, but this hour I am flipping the script on her, and now she's my guest. And we are also joined by her power partner for over 12 years now, basically her other half, her work wife, the woman with whom she's built this innovative educational network, Dawn Evenson. Good morning, Dawn. How are you?
I'm great. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I've got you. Actually, Patty, it's a little bit low here, if we could turn it up. It's good to have you, Dawn. Thank you so much, and welcome back, Amber. So, ladies, you both know the show. Normally, I like to bring my guests in with a pretty elaborate introduction, but today we're going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves, but not the way you think. What I'm going to do is ask you to take maybe a couple of minutes, a couple of brief minutes to introduce yourselves the way that you've done several dozen times in the past. Now, our listeners might not know. They know that we run this innovative and very unique charter school and charter school organization. And the way we do everything is just a little bit different. We push the envelope on things, including in the way we hire our people, right? We call it Star Search.
Yep.
And boy, if you hate interviews, watch out for this one. We have about an 8.5-hour interview process where we bring in 12 to 15 candidates at a time, and they spend an entire workday with us, starting with our staff meeting, which is inspirational and exciting, but then they get an orientation, they take a tour of our school, they teach a demo lesson, they plan a project, they make a presentation to our staff, and that morning starts off with an orientation to our schools where, well, the two of you do what I'm going to ask you to do right now is introduce yourselves. So Amber, let's start with you. We do need a very abbreviated version, but let me kick you off. In 2008, you had a crazy idea. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm not very good at doing it abbreviated, so I talk a lot and I will go as quickly as I can. But in 2008, which is when the SCVi opened, not when the crazy idea happened. That happened a few years prior to that, and really what it was. It really starts with going back to my childhood and that I didn't do that well in school. I tested into mentally gifted minors, but when I got into middle school and high school and you changed classes, you needed more executive function and organizational skills. Between what was going on at home, my parents were getting divorced, and what was going on at school, I didn't feel caught by the system or the adults in my life, and I struggled a lot. So whether they were there for me or not, that's just what my experience was. And so I struggled in school. And then you fast forward to my daughter in kindergarten, or even before kindergarten, I could see that she was a very creative soul, very committed, she has a great work ethic today. She's 21 today, but I could see that she was probably potentially going to struggle in the same way that in the same way that I had. In the same way that sorry, I'm getting distracted a little bit here. So in the same way that I struggled, she was going to struggle. So I just wanted to search around for some other options. And in that process of searching around and touring schools up and down California, I decided to start a charter school, which I didn't even know what they were at the time. This was back in 2005, 2006, and I learned about them. Even today, I hear some people think that there's a fee for them, which they're not. They're free public schools, and the funding follows the kids. And so I decided to look around and look for some models of schools that I liked. And the thing that I loved the most was project-based learning, because being an entrepreneur myself and having entrepreneurial ventures in really every level of my family and every level on both my kids' father's side and my side, and both sides of my family for generations. We had entrepreneurs and founders of companies. So wanting to nurture that, I glommed on to project-based learning. And what I would have really liked back then was to have a school, one of the ones that is one of my favorites by far is High Tech High. Now, my kids were elementary age at this time. Would have loved to open up a High Tech High here, but they weren't expanding outside of San Diego County, and they weren't elementary back then. So I just thought, well, I'm going to go for it. And that's a short way of saying, yeah, we wound up being the very first independent site-based charter school and the only elementary charter school in Santa Clarita today. And then, as we mentioned in the earlier portion of the show, we have continued to grow. It started with that one school, and that's all I was really after. But I kept going because we kept being asked, can you bring your model? And what was really interesting, and meeting Dawn was so pivotal in all of it, was that we wanted to open up somebody else's system because it's easier, right? But it wasn't available to us. So being true entrepreneurs, and really I always call opening SCVi the very first project, the real first big project, Dawn and I wound up having to invent many things that we didn't have a template for how to do. And I will say this, it's interesting because, we're independent. We have our own governing board. I mean, the way charter schools work is we have our own governing board. The funding comes to us, and the governing board for each school site makes decisions for that school about how to allocate funds and the policies and that kind of thing. And in the very beginning, Dawn and I said, wow, we don't have to, we can be rebels and do things differently than the district and make it up ourselves. And then somebody came to us when there was an issue with something and said, well, what's your policy on that? And we went, oh, it would be really nice to have a district tell us what to do here. So we have, as work wives, we have made all of those systems happen. And then as we've grown, we've been able to share that knowledge and that template and give back to other people wanting to start something similar to ours as we were seeking way back then. And the one piece of my story that I just really want to share that is always really important to me is that entrepreneurial effort that we really put into teaching those skills that we work at teaching our students is my daughter, because she was the older one of my son, but my son also follows the same path. She, I was told she talks too much and she asks too many questions in kindergarten, and that worried me because I wanted her to learn more how to nurture her talking or whatever she was naturally good at, than learn how to comply, and that concerned me. So because we're in a system where it really encourage our kids to advocate for themselves, and we really encourage them to use their voice, which we don't always like. It is not always fun to hear what they have to say. It's not always easy to manage or deal with, but we encourage it. Nevertheless, my daughter wound up opening 2 businesses in school, one in junior high and one in high school, and they're still running today. And that I do not believe would have happened if we'd been in what is the traditional mindset of education. And it's not to knock that for other people. It works for a lot of people. But I really wanted my own biological kids, and now the people who choose to come to us, to really nurture that side of them. And the thing is, it's not always, foolproof, right? They fail sometimes, which is why I'm really glad it's choice-based and not mandated, right? Because if you have to be comfortable with that level of risk that even the school could fail, the kids can fail. Like it's really a possibility, which I'm comfortable with because I feel like that's how we learn. But there's a lot of people who that doesn't work for, and I'm really glad that we have such amazing surrounding schools that are the mainstream, because so many people want to do that, and our schools, our district schools here do a fabulous job. But for the people who want to look for, who either need or want something different, I'm so grateful that the Heart District allows us to exist, because that's what my kids needed.
Yeah.
And having a smaller environment is really important too. We have 1,000 kids at SCVi from kindergarten through, or transitional kindergarten through 12th grade, and that's a very small class size. My son's graduating class, although it was a drive-through graduation, was only, I think, 38 kids. There's something so personal about that. And as happens, everybody hits some bumps, and my son hit some bumps. And when that happened, I was incredibly grateful that we had a small environment of people that every teacher knew him so well. And when we had meetings, they could speak to him and his needs and his personality in a way that just brought me to tears. And so that journey, I'm so grateful that I've been able to have that journey, and to and that along that journey I met Dawn. So when I got the school open, I was not an educator. I'm a good team builder. I'm really good at business. I know how to hire, meet, connect, put together great people, but I did not know education back then. I knew what I wanted because I toured, but I didn't know how to implement it. So I was very, very nervous around May of the year before we opened, because we had interviewed and worked on trying to hire some founding principals, but we hadn't found the right person. And I would stare at my computer, like the old Mervyn's commercial, open, open, open. I would stare at my computer, go apply, 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 because I couldn't figure out what we were going to do, and I was terrified for how to implement the first school. And so right around then is when I met Dawn, and I'll pass the torch to Dawn to tell her part of the story. But thank goodness we met each other, because we would never be the network of schools and thriving the way we are today if her amazing visionary educational mindset hadn't been the yin to my yang. Because I know the business side, and I've learned now the educational side, mostly from Dawn, but all the amazing educators like you, Matt, and other people in my life that have taught me so much. And I do feel like what's excelled is our culture in learning and working together.
Yes. It really has been a great synergy. So Dawn, tell us a little bit about how you found Amber and got involved with SCVi and now grew that into iLead Schools.
I want to give the audience a warning, and that is that Matt's asking us to do this abbreviated, and it's usually an hour-long spiel. As you could see from Amber's, you feel like that wasn't abbreviated, and it was.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
That being said, I'm going to make this as short as I can. As Amber said, she came into this mostly as the operations and business side of things, and I was the educator. And I'm one of those people that always wanted to be an educator. For example, when I was 4 years old, I would teach all my stuffed animals, and they listened, and they sat up straight and quiet, and they were compliant, and I knew that I was going to be a great teacher. So it kind of started there, and then, I had my educational journey. I will mention that during my K through 12 experience, I was not necessarily a very compliant person. My report cards always said that I talked in class. The issue was really that I knew that the kids needed help. They'd ask me for help, I would give them help, and then I would get in trouble. So that was kind of like my MO. It didn't really bother me, though, because I knew that I was teaching, and that's all I really wanted to do. So anyway, I made it through school, went to college, and got my first teaching position. And I taught for 13 years and absolutely loved it. I loved every kid that passed through my doors. They all taught me something, and hopefully they learned from me or from each other what it means to contribute to society. That was really important to me. And then along that journey, my principal, I taught, like I said, 13 years, and along that journey, my principal came in and he said, what if you were to do this, but to a larger audience? What if you were, to work with these kids and get an administrative credential? And I said, no. He says, but you really could make a bigger difference. And so I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, and got my administrative credential. I ended up at a elementary school for 5 years. When I was hired there, I was hired as the vice principal in charge, which just means I was the principal, but I got vice principal pay. But it didn't really bother me because we had such a great team. We developed a great team, and we did a lot of hands-on and experiential learning with our kids because we were in an area with a lot of English language learners, and as we know that is really effective with them. While I was as principal, my superintendent came to me and said, hey, have you ever thought of going to the middle school? And I said, absolutely not. I've never thought of that. And he said, well, then you could go there and you could make a bigger, because it's a larger school, a bigger, more positive effect on more people. And so I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, and I ended up at middle school. And it's here where my educational joy journey kind of takes a shift. And that is really because during this time, the No Child Left Behind Act passed.
Yeah.
And the focus became truly on testing and what it's going to take to just make kids pass tests. And thrown to the wayside were things that really made kids want to be at school and excited about school. So like their electives, music, the arts, the hands-on parts of school that in this community specifically that was English language learners, really those kids needed it. And I was watching the joy in them dim, and I was watching them disconnect from the educational system. In addition to that, I was watching our teachers feel the same way. They were given a scripted curriculum, we were policing the curriculum, and they it didn't allow for the creativity and the care that they needed to be able to really put their own personality into what they were doing and engage the kids. So I'm going to pause that right there. And at the same time that was happening in my personal life, I'm the mother of 3 girls. I had 3 girls in 3 years. And at this time in my educational journey, my oldest daughter was getting ready to graduate from high school. And we were driving to go get her graduation gown. And one thing you need to know about my oldest daughter is that she is not like her mom. She was a compliant child. She excelled in school. She was getting ready to graduate from an IB school with a 4.3 GPA. She had lettered in 3 varsity sports. She won the Golden League 800-meter run.
Wow.
And we got lots of letters from the, superintendent's list and the dean's list and every kind of thing to say your child is successful. And of course, as a parent, I took that as a reflection of me, like most people would. And I knew that I was doing a great job. So it was kind of full of that feeling as I was driving her to get her gown. And I turned to her and I said, Emily, I am so proud of you. And she looked at me and she said, I don't know why. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, I just learned to give the teachers back what they wanted. And in that moment, combined with my educational journey as a middle school principal, it hit me that something needed to change. And so I went on a search to figure out what that something was. And I knew that it was hands-on. I knew that it was experiential. And I knew that it was deeply rooted in social emotional learning. Because, grades might help you get a job, but social emotional learning helps you keep a job. And so I just Googling weird things, like what happens if you love education but don't like schools. And in 2008, when this journey was, when I'm talking, this timeline that I'm on, there wasn't much out there on Google, but I did come across a job posting for a founding charter school principal. And I thought, I've been principaling for a while now. I could do that. I didn't know that much about charter schools, and founding sounded pretty cool to me. So in order to kind of stop my angst that I was feeling inside, I sent an email to the address and said, I don't know if this job is available yet, but I'm interested. Well, like Amber said, she was sitting at her computer at 2 a.m. while I was Googling these weird things at 2 a.m. And I knew that if I just sent an email to this address that I could finally go to sleep and maybe have some rest.
Perfect.
But unfortunately, as I stood up, I got an automatic response. Not an auto response, but Amber was at the other side of the computer, answered me immediately and said, this job is still open. Please let us know if you're interested, and send a resume and a cover letter, which I had to create because I didn't have either of those things. So in a nutshell, I had a week of unrest. I applied for a job as a founding school principal. Founding charter school principal. I quit my job at my middle school and my district, let go of everything that I was comfortable with and used to, and ended up at charter school boot camp with Amber as my roommate. And we were finishing each other's sentences. You need to know that boot camp is really strenuous. They teach you everything about education. So Amber was doing her best to try to understand it all, and I was tutoring her on the side, and then I was also learning about charter school. So we had some time together, but we did not know each other. And charter school boot camp was about a week, a little over a week, I think. And so she and I, we were finishing each other's sentences from the very beginning. And people would say, are you sure you two don't know each other? and I just always leave people with this nugget. Even if they never end up stepping foot into an I-Lead school, it's really important that you understand that if you're on the right journey, and you find someone who kind of touches your soul and you're finishing each other's sentences, pay attention to that and lead into that journey and follow that journey, because it will lead to greatness. And that's exactly what I feel has happened.
Absolutely.
How's that, Matt?
That was perfect, Dawn. And I've got like 4 questions here that we've just ticked off. It's been fantastic, and what a beautiful journey it has been. And I thank you both for that kind of SCVi iLead history. That it's absolutely beautiful. But now it's 2020, and we want to get caught up on where you guys and our schools are at now. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we'll talk about what's happening this school year and what's going on as we move forward with SCVi and iLead Schools. I'm here with Amber Golden Raskin and Dawn Evenson, co-founders of SCVi and iLead Schools. We'll continue with them when we get back. You're listening to SCVi Charter Schools Eye on the Valley. I'm Matt Watson on your hometown station, KHTS.
Once heart attack symptoms begin, delaying treatment increases the risk of heart damage, disability, and even death. Time is critical. Leading the Valley with the most advanced digital technology and treatment times that beat national best practice goals, Providence offers emergency coronary angioplasty and stenting performed by highly trained board-certified cardiologists. For more information, call 1-888-HEALING. The road to healing leads to Providence.
Hi, this is Bob Schertz with the Way Out Recovery SCV, reminding you that during these unprecedented times, addiction and mental health do not take a break. If you or someone you love are struggling, please give us a call at 661-296-4444. We are open and here to help you during this time. Thanks.
I promise I'll get help. It wasn't my intention. I'm sorry to myself.
Honey, there are lots of new mortgage companies advertising on TV and radio. Are they for real?
Who knows? But we certainly don't want to be their guinea pigs while they learn the business. Yeah, this isn't our first refi rodeo, and we'll only consider a company who absolutely does what they say they will. That's why we're calling Owning, the experienced company we can trust.
Exactly. Owning has tons of great online reviews, and the copycats have, almost none. Go online and check for yourself. And today, Owning is offering 30-year fixed refis at 2.625% rate and APR with absolutely no closing costs, no points, title, escrow, appraisal, or anything else. And we'll close your loan in 2 to 3 weeks. Just call 855-5-OWNING.
Owning Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, NMLS 1797976. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
That's 855-5-OWNING or log on to owning.com.
You see so much when you look at your child. A creative spirit that surprises you every day. Curiosity that develops into exploring unique passions. A little leader growing every day to discover who they are, what they love, and how they can make their mark on the world. At SCVi, we see those same amazing things. Our tuition-free K-12 charter school gives your child boundless opportunities to think critically and imagine freely with a customized learning program built around each individual student. As iLead's founding school, SCVi combines an immersive approach to traditional subject learning with extracurricular activities including STEAM, robotics, theater, music, and sports. SCVi has the only international baccalaureate program in Santa Clarita, with a 10-year proven track record of graduates excelling at top universities. And we're in your backyard, just off the 5 freeway in West Santa Clarita Valley in Castaic. For enrollment information or to learn more about our program, including homeschool options, visit iLeadSantaClarita.org. iLead Schools, free to think, inspired to lead.
Your hometown station.
KHTS is the only station I listen to.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi Charter Schools Eye on the Valley, and I am your host, Matt Watson. We are here this morning with Amber Golden Raskin and Dawn Evenson, co-founders of SCVi and iLead Schools. You know, Amber, last hour we spent with Mr. Steve Sturgeon of the William S. Hart School Board, and we talked a little bit about the partnership that our schools have with the Hart District, and I mentioned we've got a couple of other schools here in California that are parts of other districts. Can you talk for a minute about how important that partnership is and how that's really what charter schools are intended to do, is partner with the districts they're authorized with and work together. How have you worked with these districts that authorize our schools, and what kind of give and take is there?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because in California, the way you get allowed to exist is to go to somebody. Actually, in California, a lot of districts see charter schools as competitors. So we, as I said in the last segment or the last hour, that we don't go places where people don't want us. It's important to us to work with them so they don't see us that way, so that we offer something that's not already offered in the district. And so we've always striven to fill a need that might be harder as a bigger district to offer. So that's what we've done in the Heart District, and then subsequently the other districts we serve, is we look at what is it that might be easier for us as a school of choice, as I spoke to in my story too, as a school of choice to offer so that parents can opt in and when they have a need or a desire for something different. So we do continuously work with our various authorizers, and let me just explain that for a minute. We have multiple schools in multiple counties and multiple areas that are authorized by different authorizers, and part of that is geographic because we're spread out along different districts.
Well, yeah, Hart's not going to authorize us in Lancaster, where a second school is. It has to be that school district.
So we connect ourselves with a thing called iLead California, which Dawn's the CEO of. And that becomes a service provider that's kind of a choice for the charter schools, because the charter schools all have, in our system, they all have their own governing board. So we're not like one entity. We're a network of entities that are connected with each other, and we share resources because there's economies of scale that are helpful, and then because we're serving various communities, there is that template that I referred to that is helpful in opening a school with our school design and school model, but they need support with that. So that's where we connect it through this iLead California, and each entity, while they make their own decisions, they work with us to implement the model and the system that we've created. So that's been an interesting and very different model than the way a district is run, which is, everybody's the same and in one entity, and it forces a more collaborative mindset, which is really beautiful because everybody gets a voice and you get to do things uniquely for your community, and it's been really a fascinating evolution to watch. Not always easier, often harder.
Well, I was going to say, you mentioned before how sometimes it is easier on the school site when you've got decisions coming from the top, coming down, people are telling you what to do, but that can also get frustrating, where you don't have that autonomy. So I mentioned before the break that we wanted to flash forward now to 2020 and where we're at, and oh my goodness, it feels like where we're at is standing on a surface that is made of Jell-O, right? And everything's constantly
changing,
shifting, and changing.
The unknown, the nature of everything being so unknown all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Dawn and I always prided ourselves on creating that environment and people who are comfortable with it. But even as somebody who is comfortable with the unknown and being uncomfortable, boy, it's been really hard for me to navigate the just constant, what if this, what if this, what if this?
Yeah, those what ifs are crazy. So Dawn, let's talk about that shift to distance learning in the spring, and then, as I mentioned with Mr. Sturgeon earlier, now in the new semester, things have become more regular distance learning rather than emergency distance learning. How are we doing at SCVi and the other iLead schools with that shift, Dawn?
Well, like I've been on here earlier and talked about, and like most schools, it was a huge shift for us to move to distance learning. A shift in pedagogy, curriculum, and in delivery and obviously mindset. So I think our organization, when I say organization, I mean iLead California, which is the network of California schools. We have some non-classroom-based schools that are part of our network, and specifically iLead Online, that were able to support us through this shift, and we were able to lean on their talented team to help us plan for this shift. Our organization is deeply rooted in collaboration, like Amber said, synergy, expertise, and empathy. And all of those things went into being able to support our people as we went through this shift. We were familiar with the platform that Eileen Online used. And a key is we started training our site-based facilitators before we shifted to online learning.
Yeah.
And we began planning for this shift in early February. So being proactive really, really helped us be prepared as a network organization. And then collectively, we would go to our families and our facilitators, which is what we call teachers, and get feedback from them. What's working, what's not working. How can we better this? How can we better support you? And so that set the stage for the now. Do you want me to talk about that too?
Well, yeah, and I know planning and preparation it was a huge part of going into this school year. So yeah, talk about what's going on now, what we did to plan and prepare for this school year, and how things are going with our staff, our families, our learners.
So specifically, our curriculum team, which is our maker team, that's what we call them, and our fall planning committee spent this summer planning for plans A, Plan B, and Plan C to be prepared for whatever came our way, because we knew that it was all unknown and we needed to be able to respond whichever direction the health department told us to take. So we provided schedule templates for every school, lots of office hours, a ton of training, both synchronous and asynchronous, because we feel that this is key to building relationships which lead to academic success. So our curriculum team, when they were training, were actually modeling what we want to see from our facilitators, which is some face-to-face time on the computer that's live, and then also some time for the learners to go and really delve deeply into their projects and into the different areas of learning that they're experiencing depending on their grade level. And Tuesday, as you know, was our very first day of school, and it went really, really well. And we continue to support and lean in as our teachers are learning more and more about the platform and about what will work. And you know, it's a shift for everybody, not just our teachers. So, like our curriculum people, everyone had to kind of shift their mindset and really focus on things differently. So Amber Soto, who's our math specialist and does a great job, had to really think about how is doing math hands-on most effective in an online environment. So she had to tackle that one. Kathleen Fredette, who works on our science and aerospace, she had to take a look at how can we do our Students in Space program virtually and have that competition run so that we have learners that are ready to send an experiment up on the space station, which is a legacy project that we do every year organization-wide. And so we also had, Linda Kristek, who has a real strong expertise in literacy, among other things, but Linda's lens on literacy, she's been shifting everything to virtual, and I can't end this without saying that Matt and Angie and all of the things that they do for supporting people has made a huge impact. So all of those shifts from all of our staff has really made this year go off without a hitch. And I think our families are very pleased with it, although we do have some families that would rather have their kids at school every single day. It wasn't an option for us. It might be in the future. So we have plans, B, C, and D ready to roll.
You talk about the future, and I do want to look forward to the future a little bit. I want to talk about some of the issues going on and current events and what we can look forward to from our schools here in the future. I do think we need to take a quick commercial break. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what's next for SCVi and iLead Schools and what we're doing to make sure that we are keeping our eye on our kids, keeping our eye on the Valley. You are listening to SCVi Charter Schools Eye on the Valley. I'm Matt Watson on your hometown station, KHTS.
At iLead Agua Dulce, we believe the most important thing a child can learn in school is who they are. Life's real tests are never standardized, which is why we've developed an individual-based curriculum that values exploration, cooperation, and creativity. As our learners grow, so do we. Our tuition-free charter school is currently enrolling grades TK through 7th and adding 8th grade in 2020. Your young learner will be immersed in a unique environment where possibility and self-discovery are at the core of every experience. The Agua Dulce campus features beautiful indoor and outdoor spaces for hands-on inspiration, including a robotics lab, a garden bed, a greenhouse, and a technology-based exploratorium. iLead Agua Dulce is conveniently located on the east side of the Santa Clarita Valley, just off the 14 freeway. Check out our homeschool options too. To schedule a campus tour or learn more about our programs, visit ileadaguadulce.org. We're enrolling now. iLead Schools. Free to think, inspired to lead.
The coronavirus has put us in a position of creating a new normal. Family Law at Home understands. Their goal is to meet you in the safest place possible. And these days, that might be in your own home in a virtual meeting. Family Law at Home will provide you with immediate advice on your family law matters, such as divorce cases, child custody disputes, and domestic violence. It's as easy as going to FamilyLawAtHome.com. You'll choose your own consultation date and be in immediate contact with one of their esteemed attorneys. Family Law at Home handles the legal aspect while you and your family navigate the new chapter in your lives. Go to FamilyLawAtHome.com.
Join us this fall for online fun with the Canyon Theater Guild online youth workshops. Super fun classes with acting, singing, dancing, audition tips, script writing, scene study, improv, and putting on real shows created for online performance. Get creative, meet new friends, and most of all, have a blast from the comfort of your own home. Call 661-799-2702 or ctgworkshops@gmail.com or canyontheater.org.
If you need help at home or at the office, call Made For You. Made For You is a locally owned, bonded, and licensed cleaning service with over 20 years of experience. All employees are vetted for your protection. No need to buy products or expensive equipment. The Made For You staff comes complete with everything needed to make your home or office cleaner than ever. Hire Made For You one time, as needed, or on an ongoing basis. No room is off limits. Laundry and ironing services are also available. Call Made For You for a free estimate today. 255-2922. That's 255-2922.
This is Jason Gibbs, the host of VIA in Action. Join fellow VIA member Ed Masterson with us every Wednesday from 9 to 11 as we interview business, education, and community leaders to discuss the current economic climate and how the Valley Industry Association can help move your business forward. Meet and hear from elected officials, big and small business operators, and nonprofit organizations who are the economic engines in Santa Clarita, and see how you can help your business and community thrive.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, and I am here this morning with Amber Golden Raskin and Dawn Evenson, co-founders of SCVi and iLead Schools here on Eye on the Valley. Before the break, we were talking about history and background and all the preparation and training that have gone into this school year and how things are going. But there were some other things going on this summer. Well, in our country, in our world, in our local community, and there were also some things going on in our school organization to reflect what our country's going through. I'm talking about the struggles that our country's facing around race relations, equity issues, things like that. Dawn, iLead Schools responded quickly and really, in my opinion, very thoroughly with what we're doing in regards to equity and race relations. Dawn, can you talk a little bit about what it is that we're doing to prepare our staff and prepare our families and learners for the way the world is changing?
Absolutely. So, as if a pandemic wasn't enough, we got jolted awake by some things that happened this summer. And I think it was probably due time that we all took a look at our country and our world and our communities. So, as far as the iLead California organization goes, we started right away with a response where we began to have open conversations with our leaders. We were having meetings with our leaders at least twice a week, all summer long. Mm-hmm. And through those meetings, we set up a summer equity series. So that series was for our leaders. We did 4 sessions, and it really just opened up the conversation to help make people feel more comfortable with the subject, because I think that as white people, we felt a lot of shame, and we were confused about what we could do. And our Black members of our organization and people of color need an opportunity to use their voice. So these 4 sessions were some really deep, hard, and courageous conversations that people had. It was moderated by someone named Mickey Singer, who works with CLS, and she did a really, really great job of facilitating this series. So we have another 4 series for our next level of leaders, those that are up and coming and those that were unable to attend the first session. And that will be happening on starting, I think, this week, and will be 4 Fridays in a row. So we started to tackle it there, but we knew that wasn't enough. Right. We, as leaders, had challenged ourselves to learn and grow and think differently and have different mindsets, and that just wasn't enough. So as an organization, we also appointed someone to be our safety and equity coordinator, which has really helped move the dial forward, especially on our plan for equity. We, at the beginning of every school year, we have 2 solid weeks of training. And during that training, we trained all of our facilitators at each school. So Nikki met with each school and went through abbreviated equity series with those teachers, and gave them an opportunity to talk, use their voice, and left them with some tools that they could use when they're working through these issues with their learners, or if parents come and talk to them, to get them to a place where they feel comfortable talking about it, and also to allow kids to embed this in their projects as an exercise of voice and choice. So we have that. We're also, our next step is to create some family and community partnerships so that people can come together and have these conversations as a community, an iLead community. We have also started an equity task force, and this task force specifically is going to be looking at really digging deep into our data. I don't mean just educational data, but also our enrollment data and what's happening in special education, all of our data, so that they can look to identify disproportionality. And once that's identifying that, then we can adjust the policies and procedures so that we can be more inclusive and better respond and make our organization even more equitable than it already was.
I love that. And what's going on in our nation's history right now is really significant. I look at it and I juxtapose it from other times of protest, of civil unrest and things like that. And rather than being what we've had in the past of an event in our nation's history or an event in our state or local history that maybe change something a little bit, but then we just go back to normal. Our nation and our disenfranchised communities are saying, no. This is the time where we get to systematic change, real change. We're going to move the dial this time. And iLead is saying the same thing. No. We're not going to implement a token training or issue a statement and then go back to doing things the way we've always done them. We're going to look long and hard. We're going to give our people the tools that they need to change the way they're doing things to make sure that all of our families, all of our learners, all of our staff feel that they have what they need moving forward. So I love that we're part of being that systemic shift that our nation's looking for. So, everybody's talking about it. We're all, as a country, going through all these different changes, and yeah, that change, that shift, that uneasiness, and the difficult things that we're going through hurt, and it's hard. But Amber, we're experiencing all these shifts, and I'm sure there's going to be some lasting effects, some positive effects that change the way schools operate. From pandemic, everybody wants to be at school, but we can't be at school. But that's shifting how we do things in education, not always for the negative. And with the race shift that we're dealing with, and the equity movement, that's shifting the way we do things in education as well. How do you feel that that's going to affect how we do education moving forward?
Well, it's said never let a good crisis go to waste, right? And if you can really take that time when things get shook up, when we're being shaken up right now, to really evaluate what it is that might be the silver lining, or what new tools you might have because of that shakeup, then you can really create long-lasting change. And we feel like definitely in our education world, where we're the rebels trying to do things differently a little bit or a lot, we sort of, as Dawn spoke to earlier, our pivot to distance learning was so seamless for us because we already had so much expertise in-house, and we were already so used to that, and we were also so used to doing things differently and used to uncertainty and change in our community. When I say not just our staff, but even our families that choose to come to one of our schools, we all welcomed it because we had so many people, students and staff, that were remote already.
Yeah.
So seeing this happen and say, oh, we know this, we're familiar with this, we feel like now the whole world is going to see the value in it. So it's going to be an ongoing tool in the tool belt of all people in education going forward.
Ladies, it seems like we never have enough time, and if I promise to behave myself, maybe we can have a next time and have you both back in to continue this conversation, because it's so important. I want to thank you so much for coming in. Dawn, thank you for calling in. We appreciate it. Have a great year. That is all the time that we have for today. I want to apologize to Big T that we didn't get a chance to get to him, but go Big T. You'll be seeing his signs around town here real soon. I want to thank Mr. Steve Sturgeon of the William S. Hart School Board for coming in, and my co-host and guest, Amber Golden Raskin and Dawn Evenson, co-founders of SCVi and iLead Schools. Engineer Patty Sweeko, we want to thank you, and I am your host, Matt Watson. Join us again next Friday at 8 a.m. This is SCVi Charter Schools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS.